Innovation in agriculture was amazing when it came to crop protection for decades. But you know what? It seems like we're going backwards. I'm talking to my friends here at the Granary about what is happening in innovation in crop protection. And are we indeed going backwards? You ready for a conversation with some real farmers about real issues? And the best part? You're invited. So pour yourself a drink. Grab a snack. Most importantly, pull up a chair. Welcome to the Granary. Hey guys. All right, so you heard the topic. I'm sitting here with my friend Adam Byrne. He is an FMC guy out of Michigan. Gail Stratman, I always just think Kansas, but he's Nebraskan, it turns out, and Kelly Garrett with XtremeAg. And this topic came up. You guys like it. We're going to cover it. Let's face it. I remember being a chemical intern in 1991, and they were talking about lower rates and all these new things and post-applied, and we're going to be changing things so much. And here we are in the year 2025, and we're using chemistry that we came out with, I want to say, 40 years ago. We've got herbicide-resistant weeds. We've got, I would say, a very big dearth of innovation in this. Am I right?
Well,
Gail Stratman, by the way, is going to hit this, and he's going to then say, I've been around for a long time. I think we're doing all right.
Well, I have been around a long time. Like I said, I got started in this business probably in the late 80s. So probably before some of the GMO crops, the Roundup Readies and stuff came along. So I've seen a lot of that development, and that's been really helpful in ag. Yeah, in the 80s and 90s, there was a big push or a big development there where you saw a lot of companies, most of them are pharmaceutical based. And so, as they're developing chemistries, there's a lot of parallels between the human pharmaceutical side and the crop protection side. A lot of those chemistries kind of mirror each other. Sometimes, they have human purposes. Sometimes they have crop protection purposes. And so there was a big development in that area in the 80s and 90s. And so you saw a lot of what I call major classes of chemistries. Sulfonylureas, you see them a lot in the human healthcare side. You see a lot of those on the crop protection side. And then, like I said, we started to utilize, some of the innovation on the, what I call the GMO side. That kind of came along in the late 80s and really kind of grasped us in the 1990s. And so, but then, there's another component of this. One is cost, and two is, when you think about companies, is recouping that cost. And I hate to use the word, but generics are a big piece of that. Patent life is a big piece of that. When products go off patent, it becomes something where other companies can step in and build those products, and a lot of times they don't have that investment.
Well, they generally just copy the product. They don't really do anything with it. They don't write anything into it. I want to get over the thought first off. You, Adam, Kelly, either of you go on this. First off, I think a bunch of people probably got a little scared. If they weren't already scared of human pharmaceuticals and the stuff we use to kill weeds, it's the same stuff. That just got people a little scared right there. By the way. But he's right. You know what?
Yeah.
Elanco, Eli Lilly and Company, they make stuff to make you not fat and make you not depressed. Oh, and also they used to make stuff to kill your weeds. I mean, it's true story. And Novartis, go through the whole thing, but he's right.
A bunch of them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You think about, I think about companies from the past. One I think about is American Home Products was a big pharmaceutical company. They owned American Cyanamid, which is a crop protection.
My favorite crop protection. That was during my time as an intern. Because they had the best trade names. Like other companies right here with things like Lexone. American Cyanamid comes in like they had names like Squadron or Scepter or we're going to shoot the hell out of your weeds, they made it like militaristic.
They had great marketing people.
Yes. American Cyanamid. And also, I wanted to work for them because it seemed like they had younger employees and they're always drinking and golfing. And I'm like, I want a job at American Cyanamid. All right, answer me about this. You used to be a university employee. Yeah. Universities get heralded as helping us with the R&D and doing all this stuff. They sometimes get criticized. Companies and universities are in bed together too much, but at least they're bringing new products that farmers can use. What the hell happened? Where's the stuff? Where's the new stuff?
Well, I think it goes back to what Gail's saying. The dollars that it takes to invest into making a new product is astronomical, right? And so you have to be able to recoup that cost. And when you can't recoup that cost, that slows the game. Like, it makes it harder. And so when you're at the university, you only have the opportunity to work with these companies that have the money to bring to you, that have something they want to bring to the market. And at that point, by the time we get to the university, it's pretty far along that process. I mean,
so research and development is dead because there's not enough light at the end of the tunnel where they can make money?
I don't know if it's dead, but it definitely is more restrictive, I think. I think it's been tightened up.
Yes, with inflation and investment, things like that, the companies like FMC are trying to do the same thing we're trying to do at Garrett Land and Cattle. They need an ROI.
Yeah.
And with inflation and regulatory and everything, their margins are slimmer just like ours. And I don't think every farmer wants to believe that, because they believe there's all these billions and billions of dollars everywhere, but there has to be an ROI. And in today's regulatory environment, I think it probably gets trimmed for everyone.
Well, there's always been that thing, whether it's a farmer consumer or just the person that's buying the pharmaceutical, whatever, it's the same old thing, like, oh, them big companies with all that money, maybe. But if you throw $1 billion at something, I don't know what it costs to bring Mounjaro to, or the Ozempic or Prozac or any of these other human pharmaceuticals, whatever it took, you got to get that money back. And so you think that right now these ag chemical crop protection companies aren't investing the money because they're worried about getting a return.
Well, yeah, they're investing the money, but again, it becomes a challenge to just develop something that may have a really good fit in a small acreage crop. Well, just take, I don't know, some vegetable crops. It may have a big fit there, but you look at what the overall cost is to bring that, and then the ability to recoup that. So for
2 million acres of specialty crop, you've got to be on every acre at a certain dollar amount 4 times a year for the next 7 years to get your money back before it becomes a generic.
Let's just use $200 million as a cost, and that you spend that over 10 years period of time.
You mean to develop
develop that, and that's short. I mean, that's a short period of time. Most of the times you're looking at 15 years to do that. And like I said, the minute you discover a new chemistry, your patent life is ticking. So you have a finite window before you can be able to recoup some of those costs and basically bring value to the company and bring value to the investors.
You're the farmer customer. What do you think? Is innovation in crop protection done?
I think a lot of it has to go back to this ROI. I think a lot of it has to go with farmers relying too much on the technology, and we're doing a poorer job of farming. We're not paying attention to our water. How many times have we talked about looking at the water and how it changes the efficacy of the products? How many times have we looked at our fertility, our nutritional imbalance, things like that, that makes it harder for this technology to work? And so we talk about weeds are becoming immune and things like that. I really think the art of farming is going backwards, and the technology can't keep up with how far backwards we're moving. We need to do a better job.
You made a point a little bit earlier about where you're still using some chemistries from 40 years ago. I think that's a testament to how good some of that stuff is, that it is still viable. They're still good tools, but we continue, as Kelly alluded to, learning more about farming and learning about the interaction of all these biological systems and things that we can still utilize some of these things that maybe 30 years ago we didn't think were, okay, this isn't going to be something I want to use.
I remember talking with a seed company, a decade ago. It may be longer than that. Maybe my memory's too short here, but used to be you had some Roundup corn and then you had Liberty corn. And that was really great in a corn on corn environment. If you had any down corn, you had any volunteer corn, one chemical would kill the other. Well, then all of a sudden, all the varieties started coming out and they were all Roundup and I'm like, well, this defeats the purpose.
Right.
Why are you doing that? And they're like, the seed company said, well, when we go through FDA approvals and things like that, it costs so much and it takes so much time, we don't want to do it again. Right. It very much is the money.
Yeah.
It very much is the money.
Yeah.
Which then regulation, and we talked about this in a different setting, is okay, there's the money and the ability to recoup. Is regulation stifling innovation? You just said something about 50-year ago chemicals. I had a house in Arizona, 1971 it was built, and whatever they laid down to keep the termites out, must have been the best product that we ever invented. Then it got outlawed because every home I've owned otherwise in Arizona, I've had to treat for termites every year. Whatever they laid down in 1971, I want that. I want some of that on the shelf because I'm telling you what, they killed termites for a half a century, and everything else we use kills termites for about 6 months.
Well, I'm sure regulation has changed what's available to us to use, obviously, but it also has slowed the process down, I think, in some ways. I think the steps to get through the regulatory process has lengthened. I mean, I don't have the timeline Gail has, per se, in the industry, but certainly... Exactly.
Is that a polite way of saying...
Gail's old.
I don't know.
But
I have much more experience. I like
that's what I meant. But I think that really is a factor because that process has lengthened. And so that just chips away at that time for the companies to recoup that investment. So they have fewer years left once they get something to market to make that money. So regulation is playing both sides, right? It is protecting certain things. It is making things better and safer, but it also has slowed the process down, which makes it hard.
Incumbents. Regulation protects incumbents. Oh, you're already approved? Yeah, that can stay in here. And it also, by protecting incumbents, saying we've already got that approved, not going to take that away. But new stuff, we're going to have a different set of parameters. It protects the incumbents, and it prevents new entries.
We've lost some old stuff too.
Well, and that's just it. And as crop protection chemicals, every 15 years are required to go back through the same regulatory process as a new chemistry would. So they basically going back and starting over. And so that's where you see maybe some products that pass 20 years ago with new regulatory requirements, that sort of thing, don't necessarily pass this time.
Yeah.
And so that's when we tend to lose it. And so then it becomes, hey, it's a higher risk for us use, maybe in this specific use or specific crop over here. It's a higher risk than maybe if we use it here. We're going to lose it over here, and some of those things. So, but we continue to manage that and work with our regulatory agencies to make sure that we continue to have as many of those tools available for growers as we can.
What do you think, as the farmer? Do you think that we're lacking tools now? Because you'd have a hard time complaining when yields are as good as they are, and we are completely at a surplus. There's a reason why soybeans are below cost of production, because we've got too many of them. You can't really go and you can't pitch a bitch and say, we don't have any tools. We're out here with a hoe and a horse trying to grow these crops, because you're not. So maybe innovation is adequate.
I really believe innovation is adequate. I believe we need to do a better job as farmers. I believe we rely too much on the technology and we don't check all the boxes.
Well, glyphosate is the one that, obviously, the big innovation of genetically engineered soybeans as an example. Oh, God. We used to plow, disc, cultivate, plant, cultivate through the rows a couple of times, spray them, have kids out there walking with weed hose, drill them, spray them. Done. So that one made it very easy.
It did.
And it also made it so that we didn't have to be very good at what we do.
You remember my childhood.
That one worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
But from an innovation perspective, that one worries me a little, because where I see a gap coming is in our post-herbicide applications. We're lacking options there. And a lot of the innovative things that are kind of in the pipelines that we hear about are all pre-residual herbicides. What are we going to do in posts in 5-10 years from now? And we got very few options right now.
It is going down. You're correct.
We've tried to make everything so easy and so simple, and we continue that tends to be the attraction. Is we're gonna come with this. It's gonna make it more simple. And as I look back on this, that's probably the one biggest mistake we make, is making it simple, because that's, as Kelly alluded to, you had Roundup Ready beans, Liberty Link corn.
By the way, I'm the one that brought up the Roundup Ready beans.
Then we went to Roundup Ready
I'd like
corn.
a little credit, Gail. By the way, you know what I'm going to start calling the Adam Byrne School of Complimenting? I don't have as many years of experience as Gail. Hey, Kelly, I don't have as many examples of making stupid decisions as you. So could you please expand on that?
Well, but I was like, the biggest thing that happened to Roundup Ready soybeans, the worst thing that happened was Roundup Ready corn, because it simplified it. And you see that continued as we go forward here. You're seeing companies come with, 2,4-D soybeans. Well, now we want to take it to corn. We're seeing some of the newer technologies that ain't even released yet. Where you're seeing mesotrione tolerant things are coming. That's the next new traits. They're going to stack them in.
What's that mean? What's mesotrione?
Well, mesotrione is a corn herbicide, commonly known for a lot of years sold as Callisto, and it's been traditionally a corn herbicide.
Yep.
In a couple of years, you're going to see that in soybeans, that'll have some benefits where you can not worry about maybe carryover or something like that out of corn. But what that's going to do is now let you use the same herbicide in corn and soybeans. Well, the biggest issue we have with weed resistance is selection pressure. We're using too much of the same thing on everything.
Exactly.
And that's where it goes back to simplicity. Yeah, that's really simple until it doesn't work.
All right. So the exact same thing has happened. And I pointed this out to one of my ag audience. I said they were worried about losing glyphosate. And I said, I remember when the poultry people lamented, screamed, cried bloody murder, claimed you're going to put us out of business if you take tetracycline away from us. Because for years, you put tetracycline in the drip lines in the poultry barns. It's an antibiotic, and it made them grow a little faster, and it prevented disease until it didn't. Because just like everything, you hit the easy button so many times, you've overused tetracycline to the point where the antibiotic has absolutely zero effect, and we've made an entire bacterial world resistant to tetracycline. I'm not sure that it's a bad thing that some of these things end up getting taken away from us, because it didn't really hurt the poultry thing. In fact, it made it better. Not that I'm asking for regulation, but sometimes taking tools away from us forces us to get more innovative.
That's right.
But not just with new chemicals, about why the hell we use this chemical anyhow? We didn't need it. We can grow birds without all this.
Yeah. It's because we want to hit the easy button. And when we're forced to go do a better job or a more complete job, we will figure it out.
Yeah.
And it comes back to, because we'll get paid to do so.
Yeah. Farmers are tremendously innovative.
Yes.
But if sometimes they got to be
forced into the innovation
a little bit, and then like I said, we'll figure it out.
It's just human nature.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think we need? Because you know what? I'll give you another example. The person that is sitting down to their dinner table in suburban USA sees a news item that says, "Yep, they're taking these chemicals away from farms." Like, good. There's too many chemicals. They don't have a problem with the regulation aspect. They don't have a problem with you being forced to get more innovative. They're not going to the store. Food's a little high right now, but it's not bare shelves. And they'd be happy with you having to innovate and the crop protection companies saying, I guess we can't rule out all these chemistries. I don't think the consumer has a problem with this. So in other words, I don't see that this gets better. I don't see there being a big outcry that FMC has to come up with 10 new chemicals between now and, the next 10 years. I don't see anybody saying that.
I agree. The consumer does not want more chemicals. The consumer wants less. Yeah. The regulatory will get worse, not better.
So does FMC, what's FMC going to, is FMC still around 20 years from now?
Absolutely. We've actually got a really exciting pipeline that we're working on. We've announced this in the last year or so, but we've got the first complete new mode of action herbicide coming out in rice in the next year or two, depending upon
less harsh chemistry.
It's different chemistry again. It's very, and that's what you see out of the newer stuff. When we developed chemistry 40 years ago, the glyphosates, 2,4-Ds, they were very broad spectrum. Man, you used pounds of that and you could control a lot of stuff. The newer stuff is very specific. It's because it has to meet so many regulatory hurdles and that sort of stuff. And so it tends to narrow down, but it has a very specific use. This one happens to be really active on a lot of what we call a lot of the resistant grass species that rice growers like Matt and those guys are really fighting. I know he's really excited about seeing it come. We're hoping to have it sometime in 26, but it might not be till 27. We got that. We got a new corn and soybean herbicide coming behind that in a couple of years. It's unique in that it's the first single active ingredient that is 2 sites of action. So it works on 2 different parts of the plant from a single AI. That's the first time in history that something like that. So we're really excited about the innovation that's going on. But these chemistries were discovered in the mid 20-teens, and it's going to be late 2020s before we're able to get those in the hands because of the amount of research and the dollars and the regulatory environment to get them there.
So you probably have another few years in the game. Are you excited about this? I think you are, because you're not the easy button type and you're like, yeah, just make his farm better. But there's also a certain concern you could see if you're an agricultural person, like, hell, they're taking this tool away from me. They're taking this away from me. They're taking this away from me. How am I supposed to do my job?
I working with XtremeAg and trying to manage intensively the way we do and things like that. The herd, if that's what you want to call it, you're not late adopters, but your average adopters. If you look at that bell curve, those people will be upset about it. Me being an early adopter, I'm not upset about it, and I welcome the challenge because I think it gives me an economic advantage. I think it's fine. I think anytime you do something that's hard, look at the value that's in that, because not very many people are going to do it.
So if tools if there's less innovation because there's less potential billions of dollars to sell it, and then there's the regulatory environment, it does favor the producer that is outside the box thinker, that says, hey, you know what? Great. I've already cut back on this and I already use less of this. And so fine, let regulation come, which is not usual. A lot of established players welcome regulation because they can adapt to it easier. A big bank likes regulation more than a small bank because they've already got 3 compliance officers, right? So a big farmer like you,
the big bank is going to buy the small bank when more regulation,
because when they can't afford the cost of regulation.
There you go.
And you're not going with that. You're going with, I'm a bigger player. I farm, quite a few acres, but that's fine. Let the regulation come because I'm already cutting back and not using the stuff that's getting regulated anyhow.
That's right. I believe the harder something is to figure out, the more value there is in doing that, and the less people will figure it out.
Yeah, because they'll just go with what's easy.
I think the more progressive approach, the more holistic approach, may be harder, but I think in the long run, may be more profitable too. I think you learn more about your crop, you learn more about your land, you come up with opportunities that you weren't thinking about because you're using that easy button.
I truly believe that if we find a nutritional balance in our soil, the weed control becomes easier and the crop yield gets up.
Yeah. Thinking about all those sorts of things, from nutritional balance and then how that affects cover crop growth and all those things. We figured out over the last 10 years and all the research that's going into that, wow, having something growing out there suppresses the weeds. We've known about that for 40 years, but we just kind of got away from it because of the easy button.
That's the art of farming that we've lost. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah,
and then
that's right.
Those things contribute to better plant health, less plant stress, which leads to better yield or better disease management opportunities. There's all kinds of things that they interplay.
All right, Adam, Michigan State guy, and we'll go around the table, starting with him. Not giving the Adam Byrne compliment. I swear to God, this is in my new vernacular. Hey, I don't have as much experience of people wanting to hit me in the face because I'm an a-hole as you do. So
my job review is going to be interesting now.
I don't have as much experience, obviously, as that old man over there that hired me. What's the next big innovation in crop protection? I got my prediction, so I'm going to go around. I'm last.
Next innovation in crop protection.
You want to think about it? What's the next big innovation in crop protection?
The new chemistries he's coming out that are more selective. Like it won't be such broad spectrum. It'll be more site specific.
So one of them, of course, was less rate, but that's just more concentrated. I mean, that was even when I was an intern in 1991. It was, we're only putting 3 ounces out. Well, instead of 50 ounces of the other stuff. Well, it doesn't mean that somehow we're better environmentally. It means it's a hell of a lot more of a potent chemical. I mean, really,
more concentrated.
Was that big of an innovation? I don't know. What's the next big innovation? He says more selectivity.
Yeah, that's good. Just taking from what we learned in the past and utilizing that to keep our new stuff viable. The one of the things I'll talk about in crop
like an
protection,
additive, like we've come up with a new additive that goes into a 40-year-old chemical and it changes it exponentially.
Potentially, yeah, some of those things, or just understanding where the potential pitfalls are in chemistry development and chemistry utilization in the market and protecting from that. First thing I'll say is for the most part, I don't know that you'll see a lot of standalone chemistries coming to the marketplace as much in the future as you did in the past. Why? Because the minute you put selection pressure on from specific AIs, what do? You derive resistance.
Yep.
You now need to, how do you protect that? Use multiple modes of action. If you do that from the start, instead of doing it after you got a problem, you can prolong the ability of those chemistries to be a viable tool for decades longer versus in 5 years.
Are you ready for
I'm
what's
not,
the next big
I'm not
innovation?
convinced one of the new innovations might come along the lines of finding new ways to utilize some of the tools we have already too, because I think there are tools that we have at our disposal we get used to using in certain ways, but there are opportunities perhaps to use them.
Wait a minute, going with Gail's thing we own with, are we going to take Ozempic and turn it into a crop protection product?
No.
Make our crops thinner?
Well, I think of, in FMC, we have a fungicide we use in a different way than we did before. It's an plant fungicide where we're used to foliar fungicide. So there are different ways to use tools that we have, whether it's crop protection tools or nutrient balance or so on, that we could use to refine what we're doing.
We may have the ability in the future to go into plants and reverse resistance. Where we can add something to it that makes it. We're seeing this a little bit in insects.
So this is where
population, and you can go back and make stuff old that didn't work new again.
Where I was going to go with innovation is we got genetically engineered crops 30 years ago. Soybeans, the first one, 96, really, right? And you can make a soybean so you can spray it with glyphosate, and boom, it kills all the weeds, doesn't kill the soybeans. Perfect, wonderful, that worked. What about genetically engineered crops that can do like alfalfa after it's in there for a year, suppresses other vegetation from growth with whatever that chemical is or whatever? Why is that not the next innovation where it's combined, no offense to FMC or any other company, negates the need for herbicide because the plant itself resists weeds? Is that the next innovation?
That
I'll never say never.
No, yeah.
Well, there's some trees that do it.
Yeah.
There's some trees that do it to
does it.
put off some sort of a toxin.
And that's there are a number of crops, number of plants that have allelopathy. Allelopathy basically means one plant suppresses the growth or the viability of competing plants. So you mentioned rye. There's other things that have done that. And so if we can figure out how to harness that and make a crop actually produce that, and do that in soil. Because the problem is, if you just have, like you said, if you have a crop that like rye does it, and you plant something behind it, you're struggling to get that next crop going because of that. So you're trying to do that. You're trying to get it to selectively suppress weeds plants that you don't want without suppressing the crop that you do want.
So my innovative idea is probably there.
It's very possible.
Yeah, I like it. What else? Yeah. What else do I not know about innovation? I think it's not quite an embarrassment, but I think that the promise that we may have had when I'm at Purdue University in 1991 about this future and all this, I don't know. We're supposed to be like Jetsons flying around in cars right now, and instead we got people that don't know how to. The guy that's a producer of the show can't get from here to my house without his phone telling him how to do it. I don't think we're as advanced as we should.
That's actually worse than when we were in college, right? We used to be able to read maps and go wherever we wanted.
I'm just not sure that the promise has lived up to what we were. I don't think it's quite there. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you. I don't think there's as much innovation in mechanical, yes. Innovation maybe in seed, yes. The stuff that's in our hands, yes. The stuff that's in your tractor cab, yes. I'm not sure it's there on crop protection.
There's a tremendous amount of stuff on the crop protection side. Sorry, and it doesn't look sometimes as flashy maybe as some of those other things that are happening, but there's a lot going on in the background. Like I said, there were, for a lot of years there, everybody thought, everybody was putting all their investment in the seed side and that side of stuff, and until we learned that, okay, that's great, but unless we have new chemistries to go along with some of that stuff, the viability of those things.
The money always kind of goes, it seems like the money flows more into one little category, then it moves to the next, then it moves to the next. And that's where maybe we're just in a cold cycle on crop protection.
Maybe that's the next turn coming up is crop protection.
Yeah. Like we went to seed, and then we went to technology on this and the stuff in the computer and all that. Yeah. Adam, what do you think?
I think it's going to cycle back for sure. I think demand's going to force it too. I think with weed control, we're going to be pushed in that direction. Like Gail said, there are new things in the background coming. There are, and FMC is not the only company that's doing these development things. There's lots of things that we don't even hear about yet that are being developed in the background, but it's a slow process. And, getting that that new iPhone kind of technology at your disposal right away is not easy.
And you're not depressed and you're not disappointed and you don't think, oh gosh, we're screwed, because you think it's all fine. I think innovation is adequate, obviously, to look at the surpluses. And
I absolutely do. I think innovation is fine. I think we rely too much on it. You talked about Google Maps, and you talked about all that. There's across many sectors of our lives, we have come to rely on it too heavily.
Last word, Gail.
It takes time, and for innovation, and a lot of companies are challenged to. You've got to be able to predict what's the world going to look like in 20 years, and what am I working on now that I'm going to be able to potentially have in that market in 20 years? Because, like I said, that innovation takes time. It's not about today. It's not about tomorrow. It's not about next year. It's trying to figure out what's the market going to need from an FMC or any of the crop protection companies 20 years from now that I need to be focused on? And that is probably the biggest challenge for companies, is to predict that future. Because if you predict wrong and you invest in the wrong area,
and I've got my prediction, Gail, and I'm going to make it another episode, because we think forever that the thing that we need 20 years from now is more. And I'm going to say, we've already got plenty. So I think that's my prediction. What do you think about that? His name is Gail Stratman. He's with FMC. They're the sponsor of this show. We really appreciate you pulling up a chair and joining us here at the Granary. FMC, business partner here at XtremeAg. We love them. If you want to learn more about their lineup of products, where would they go?
Go to ag.fmc.com, or we've got retailers around the countryside, everywhere you go, that are supporting FMC and have our product lineup.
His name's Gail Stratman. The website is ag.fmc.com, joined by XtremeAg's Kelly Garrett, always a regular here at the Granary. I'm Damian Mason, and our special guest coming down from Michigan, Adam Byrne, who, I got to say, I'm not as good at being passively aggressively insulting to people and passing it off as a compliment as you.
There you go.
You're remarkable at that. Anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, Adam. Thanks to FMC. Till next time, pass this on. Somebody can learn from it, enjoy it. We got dozens and dozens of episodes of the Granary. We appreciate you joining us. And also, remember, you're always welcome here. So check out all the great stuff at XtremeAg.farm, or when you're at YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Till next time, Damian Mason coming at you from Daily Rosa Farms and the Granary.